Most men who have reached their 50 seconds or 60 seconds tend to believe that they would know it right away if a woman was truly interested in them. They have this idea in their minds that attraction is always big and loud. They expect obvious signs like direct compliments, soft touches that last a little too long, or very clear invitations that don't leave any room for guessing. The real trouble is that attraction doesn't usually work that way anymore, especially among women who have lived a lot of life and gained wisdom. At this beautiful stage of life, most women are not going to simply walk up to you and tell you they like you. They have been through enough to know that being that direct can feel a bit scary. And they don't want to put themselves in a spot where they might feel rejected in a way everyone can see. Instead of being loud about it, they do something much more quiet and clever. They ask you questions. The tricky part is that these questions almost never sound like they are about romance. In fact, most of them sound so regular and normal that many men answer them without ever realizing what is really going on deep down. A woman might ask something that feels like a casual comment or a tiny bit of small talk. The man, being helpful, gives a logical and practical answer. The conversation keeps moving forward, and that little window of opportunity quietly closes and disappears. He walks away thinking they just had a nice, friendly chat. She walks away thinking that he either wasn't interested in her at all or he just didn't see the little door she was trying to open. This happens so much more often than most men think. It isn't because these men aren't confident, and it certainly isn't because they aren't handsome or because they are getting older. It happens because the way we talk about liking someone changes as we get older. A young woman in her 20 seconds might flirt in a very obvious way, but a woman in her 40 seconds, 50 seconds, or 60 seconds often flirts in a way that is much more careful and thoughtful. She has learned to be more indirect. Instead of making a big move, she opens a small door and waits to see if you are paying enough attention to notice it. That is what we are really here to talk about today. Over the next few minutes, we are going to look at some of the most common questions women ask when they are interested but aren't quite ready to say it out loud yet. Once you start to see what these questions actually mean, you will start to see chances for connection that might have been sitting right in front of you for a long time. After you turn 50, success in dating isn't about trying harder or doing more. Most of the time, it is simply about noticing what is already there. The first question sounds simple enough, but it tells a woman much more than most men think. A woman looks at you, gives you a warm smile, and asks how old you really are. On the outside, it sounds like she is just being playful or making conversation. It sounds like she is just trying to fill a quiet gap while you talk. But if you look a little closer, there is almost always something more meaningful happening. She already knows you aren't a young kid. She isn't doing a survey or trying to fill out a form with your data. What she is really doing is watching how you react when the topic of age comes up. She wants to see if you are happy with who you are today, or if you secretly feel like your best days are all behind you. She is listening for how you feel about yourself, not just a number on a calendar. This is where a lot of men accidentally trip themselves up. As soon as she asks, they start to apologize for how old they are without even thinking about it. They make little jokes about how they are falling apart. They talk about their back hurting or how they can't see as well as they used to. They start laughing at themselves because they are afraid someone else might laugh first. The woman might smile and be polite, but the feeling in the room changes. It isn't because she cares about how old you are. It is because she can feel the discomfort you are hiding behind your answer. A much better way to answer is to be relaxed and sure of yourself. You want to show that you are at peace with the life you have lived. You don't have to be arrogant, and you shouldn't pretend to be way younger than you are. It is just about a quiet, happy acceptance of where you are right now. I remember a story about a man who met a lovely woman at a place where they were playing live music. They were having a great time talking until she tilted her head and asked him how old he really was. Instead of just telling her, he immediately started making jokes about senior discounts and how he always loses his car keys. She laughed, but the spark they had earlier seemed to fade away. Later on, he realized something very important. The question didn't make him uncomfortable. It was what the question made him think about himself. That is why this moment is so big. When a woman asks about your age, she is often trying to see something much deeper than a birth date. She wants to see if you still feel full of life, if you are excited about the world, and if you are confident in your own story. The answer she will remember isn't the number you give her. It is the energy and the spirit you show when you say it. Another question that can catch a man off guard is why he isn't married. This can feel very personal when you first hear it. Some men even feel like they are being judged or like they have to defend their choices, but most of the time that isn't what she is doing. When a woman asks this with real curiosity, she isn't trying to investigate your past like a detective. She is trying to understand your life right now. What she is really asking is whether there is any room in your life for a new person to come in. She wants to know if you are emotionally ready, if your heart is open to someone new, or if you are still tied up in things that happened a long time ago. The question sounds like it is about a marriage certificate, but underneath it is really about the possibility of a future together. This is another place where men often close the door by mistake. Some men start telling a long, sad story about every relationship that didn't work out. Others talk for a long time about their divorce or how they were hurt or let down by someone else. Then there are the men who sound a bit angry or bitter, saying things like, marriage just isn't worth it, or they have learned their lesson the hard way. They think they are just being honest. But the woman hears something else. She hears a man who might still be carrying the heavy weight of yesterday into his today. A much stronger and kinder way to answer is to stay calm and keep it simple. You don't have to tell her every single thing that has happened to you. You don't have to hide your past either. You just need to show her that you have learned from what happened and that you aren't stuck there anymore. You could say something like, life just took you in a few different directions, but you are still very open to finding the right person. A short answer like that says so much more than a long story ever could. I once heard about a man who met a woman while they were both helping out at a charity event. They spent the whole night talking and laughing. Near the end of the event, she asked him how it was that a man like him wasn't married. He immediately started giving her a long history lesson on everything that went wrong in his past relationships. She was polite and listened, but that easy, happy feeling they had just seemed to go away. Later, he realized she wasn't looking for a list of his mistakes. She was trying to see if there was a chance for a future. That is why this question is so important. A woman who asks why you are single is often testing the water without saying it directly. She is trying to see if your past is behind you or if it is still sitting right there between the two of you, and the way you answer tells her more than you might think. Another question that sounds like nothing but can mean a whole lot is whether you date younger women. The moment a man hears this, he might not be sure what to do. Some men think it is a compliment to them. Others get a bit defensive. Some think it is a trap and try to find a way to avoid the question. What they don't see is that she usually isn't asking about younger women in general. She is usually asking about one specific woman herself. What she really wants to know is if you could ever see someone like her as a real possibility for you. She isn't looking for a list of people you used to date. She isn't asking you to explain your choices. She is trying to see if the connection the two of you are feeling is something you would actually let yourself explore. This is where men often accidentally push her away. Some start bragging about young women they have been with before, thinking it makes them look like a big deal. Others say something like, they are way too old for that, without realizing they just rejected the very idea she was quietly thinking about. Both of those answers miss the point of what she was really asking. A better answer keeps the focus on the connection you have right now rather than just a number. Something honest and kind usually works the best. You could say you usually pay more attention to how you get along with someone than how old they are. Or you might say that for you, things like chemistry and who a person is on the inside matter a lot more than what year they were born. Answers like that keep the conversation going and show that you are a mature and confident man. I remember a man who met a woman at a book club on the weekend. They spent the whole afternoon talking about books and sharing stories and just enjoying being around each other. At one point, she gave him a smile and asked whether he usually dated younger women. Instead of making it a big debate about age, he simply said he just enjoyed spending time with people he really connected with, and that had always been the most important thing to him. Her smile got a lot bigger after he said that because she finally got the answer she was actually looking for. The big thing to keep in mind is that questions like these are often like a little invitation wrapped up in curiosity. She isn't asking if you like young women. She is wondering if you like her. And when you see that difference, the whole talk changes. One of the questions men miss the most is about what kind of woman they usually go for. Most men hear that and just think she is being friendly and making talk. They think she is asking about what you like, the same way someone might ask about your favorite kind of food or where you like to go on vacation. But when a woman asks this during a warm and friendly conversation, there is usually something deeper going on. She isn't just looking for information. She is quietly comparing herself to the picture you're about to describe. She wants to know if she fits into that picture. She wants to know if the things she likes about herself are the things you actually care about in a woman. In many cases, she is trying to figure out if she should lean in a little closer or if she should stay back and protect her heart. This is where a lot of men make a mistake without meaning to. They start listing physical things like they are ordering something from a catalog. They talk about height or hair color or how someone's body looks or their age. They give a list of things that sounds more like a dream than a real human being. While they think they are just being honest, what the woman hears is a man who cares more about a look than a real soul-to-soul connection. A much better answer focuses on the qualities that make a relationship meaningful. You might say you really appreciate a woman who is kind and curious about the world, someone who has grown up in her emotions and can enjoy life without taking everything too seriously. See the difference there? Instead of describing what someone looks like, you are describing how it feels to be with them. Instead of a fantasy, you are talking about the kind of bond that actually lasts. I heard about a man who met a woman while they were both volunteering. They worked together for a few weeks and got really comfortable around each other. One day, she casually asked what kind of woman he usually went for. He took a second to think and said, "Someone who makes life feel a little lighter. Someone he could talk to for hours and still want to talk to her again tomorrow." She smiled and told him that was a much better answer than she expected. That is the secret power of that question. She isn't just asking about your type. She is wondering if she could be the one for you. And the way you answer tells her so much. Another question that pops up when a woman is interested is one that men often get totally wrong. She smiles, looks at you for a moment, and asks if you are always this charming. On the outside, it sounds like a joke or a nice compliment. Most men just laugh it off or think she is just being sweet. What they don't realize is that she is doing something very big. She is noticing the spark between you and giving you a chance to notice it too. This is one of those rare moments where the attraction comes out into the open for a second. She isn't really asking if you are charming. She already knows you are, or she wouldn't be asking. What she really wants to know is if you can stay present in that moment without hiding behind a joke or acting like nothing is happening. Many men get a little uncomfortable when someone is being really warm toward them. As soon as a compliment comes their way, they try to push it away. They make a joke out of it or act like they don't deserve it. When they do that, they often accidentally stop the very connection she was trying to build. A stronger way to respond is to be simple, relaxed, and sure of yourself. You could say something like, "You are only that way when you are really enjoying who you are with." Or maybe the right person just brings that out in you. The goal isn't to try to impress her even more. The goal is to just stay in that moment with her instead of running away. I once heard about a man at a dinner party who spent most of the night talking to a woman he just met. They got along so easily and had such a good vibe. At one point, she smiled and asked if he was always this charming. Instead of just laughing, he looked her in the eye and said he was only that way when the talk gave him a good reason to be. She looked at him a little longer after that, and their connection got much deeper. That is why this question matters. It isn't about the word charm. It is about chemistry. She is giving you a little opening and waiting to see if you will walk through it or step back. Another question women often ask when they like you is why you don't have a girlfriend. At first, it sounds like just a regular question. It sounds like she is just curious about your life. But when a woman asks this while she is smiling and looking you in the eye, there's usually a lot more to it. She isn't asking for a full report on your dating history. She doesn't want to hear all the reasons your old relationships failed. She is trying to find out if there is a spot for someone in your life right now. She wants to know if you are ready for someone new or if your heart is still stuck in the past. This is where men often accidentally shut the door. Some start talking about how hard dating is these days. Others say how much they love being alone and doing their own thing. Some tell long stories about being hurt or let down before. Even if those things are true, they often send a message the woman wasn't hoping for. Instead of seeing a chance for a future, she sees a man who is resisting it. A better answer leaves a little room for what is next. You might say you have been busy with other things in your life, but you are still very open to meeting the right person. Or you could say, you just haven't found that special connection you are looking for yet. These are honest answers that don't sound like you have closed your heart. They tell her that your life is full, but it isn't locked up tight. I remember a man who met a woman at an art show. They talked for almost an hour about the paintings. Near the end of the night, she asked how a man like him didn't have a girlfriend. He smiled and said maybe he had just been waiting for someone who was worth making room for. She gave a soft laugh and she stayed right there in the conversation with him. The question wasn't really about his status. It was about whether she could see herself in his future. That is why it matters. It might sound casual, but often it is a woman trying to see if the door is open before she takes another step. Then there is a question that is perhaps the most honest of all. A woman looks at you, maybe with a little smile, or maybe a bit of nervous energy, and she asks whether you would ever date someone like her. Most men hear this and start thinking way too much. They wonder if she is joking or just being nice, or if she is just curious. What they don't see is how much heart she is putting into those few words. Think about what has to happen before a woman asks that. She has already thought about it. She has already wondered what it would be like to be with you. She has already thought that maybe the two of you have something special. The question isn't where her thoughts started, it is the final result of those thoughts. This is why so many chances fade away in moments like these. A man gets nervous. He gives a boring answer. He changes the subject. He laughs it off because he doesn't want to assume too much. But while he is trying to protect himself, he makes her feel like she is out there all alone. She took a little risk with her feelings, and she got a confusing answer back. The best way to answer is to be simple and honest. Don't look for a clever line. Just tell the truth. You want to show her that you see the possibility she is putting right in front of you. Because what she is really asking isn't about women like her in general. She is asking if you truly see her as a person. I remember a man who met a woman in a walking group. They had been talking for weeks and having a lot of laughs. One day they were watching the sun go down after a walk. It was quiet for a bit. And then she asked whether he would ever date someone like her. He could have made a joke. He could have looked away, but instead he smiled and said if the connection felt right, he absolutely would. Her face softened because she finally had the answer she needed. That is the hidden truth behind questions like these. They aren't just looking for information. They are moments of bravery. And when a woman shows you that kind of courage, the real win isn't having a perfect line. It is seeing what she is really giving you. By now, you probably see the pattern. On the surface, these questions all sound different. One is about age, one is about marriage, one is about your type. But the reason she is asking is almost always the same. She is trying to get an answer to a question she isn't quite ready to ask you directly yet. The mistake many men make is thinking these are just requests for facts. They focus on giving the right information instead of seeing the invitation to connect. They give a logical answer when what is really needed is a heart-centered awareness. They hear the words, but they miss the feeling that is hiding underneath. What makes these moments so powerful is what they tell us about how attraction works as we get older. Most women who have lived a full life aren't looking for big, flashy gestures or games. They are looking for a sense of safety, for clarity, and for signs that if they show they like you, you will meet them with kindness instead of making them feel embarrassed. Instead of taking one big risk, they take a lot of little ones. A question here, a little comment there, a tiny opening that lets them see what might happen without feeling too exposed. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop hearing these as random talk and start seeing them as chances to connect, not chances to show off, but chances to be really present and see what is actually going on. The truth is that attraction after 50 is often much quieter than it used to be. It doesn't usually come with bright lights. It comes through curiosity, through talking, and through those little moments that you might think are just people being polite. That is why so many men miss it. They are waiting for a giant sign while they ignore the small ones that are already right there. The good news is that once you learn to see these signs, you start to see a whole new side of meeting people that was there all along. As we finish up our talk today, I want you to remember one important thing. None of the questions we talked about were really about the words. They were about what was happening under those words. When she asks about your age, she is looking for your confidence. When she asks why you aren't married, she is looking to see if you are emotionally ready. When she asks about younger women or your type, she is wondering if there is a real chance for the two of you to be together. Most men miss these moments because they are only listening with their ears. You need to listen with your heart and your awareness too. They hear a question and look for an answer, but the real message gets lost. The message isn't to give her data. The message is to help her understand where she stands with you. This is even more important because attraction as we get older gets more subtle. Women who have lived a lot of life know how to keep their heart safe. They have been hurt and let down before, just like men have. Because of that, they rarely jump in without checking first to see if it is safe. Those checks are usually these little questions. They seem regular until you see what they are really checking for. You don't need any special tricks or lines to do this. Well, you just need to pay attention. You need to slow down and see when a woman is giving you a chance to connect instead of just talking. The men who do the best in dating after 50 aren't always the ones who look the best or have the most money. They are the men who pay attention. They are the men who see interest when it is there and respond with warmth and honesty. Life is full of these little moments where a new story can begin if we are just open enough to see them. Keep your heart open and your eyes ready to see the beauty in the people around you. You never know when a simple question might be the start of something wonderful. Being present and kind is the best gift you can give yourself and others as you navigate this part of your journey. Trust yourself and trust the process of meeting people with a sincere and open spirit.